Hi everyone, thanks for joining. Just give me a second to share my screen. Thanks for joining our webinar. Today's webinar is called Kafka Unleashed, Powering Real-Time AI with Streaming Data. So today's webinar was supposed to be originally hosted by Akmal, but he decided to take a break. So he won't be here with us today. So what I'll do is that since this is a repeat session, I will play his demo video during the session, and you can obviously ask all the questions that you might have during like towards the end of the session or also during the session. You might notice that you have a Zoom Q&A button which is present at the bottom of your console. So you're currently in a listen only mode, so feel free to use that. And if in case like there's anything, just let me know, and like we're okay to add address any questions that are there. So if you want to follow along in real time, I will be posting the resources and the links to everything in the chat. We have a dedicated code repository that's related to this webinar. So this is the link to the free trial or the cloud trial that will take you directly to the landing page. Feel free to scan the QR code right now. Mind you, I cannot see the questions right now, but I will definitely take a look when I'm right back at it. So today's agenda would be the introduction, SingleStore in Fintech, and then it will be followed by a demo. And then at the end of the session, there will be a summary. And again, there will be a Q&A session that might be there. We also have a policy to answer any questions that are given to us at the end of this towards the session. And if there's anything that we cannot address in real time, so I will take that question up and send it to our experts, and we'll obviously get back to you with that. So welcome to today's session. It's called, once again, in case that anyone joined late, it's called Kafka Unleash, Powering Real-Time AI. I'm Yukti. I'm a growth engineer here at SingleStore, and I'll be walking you through this exciting journey. So whether you're here to learn about Kafka, LangChain, or to build a smarter dashboard, this session should leave you with practical takeaways. So we can get started. So just in a nutshell, what is SingleStore? I'll keep it really short. It was founded as MemSQL in memory OLTP and secured a great funding of 30 million in 2014. And Mr. Raj Verma, he joined in as a CEO around 2019. And since then, it's been like a forward trajectory for us. And in 2023, we had 412 million in total funding. And towards 2024, we had indexed vector search, and we also launched our Pro Max version with ANN and compute. So that's there. Yes, the video session will be recorded. I see a question regarding that. So that would be there. So yeah, again, like we don't have Akmal today because he's decided to take a break because uh, he's decided to pursue some other things in the company. So yeah, that's going to be there. So again, this is like a little bit of visualization of how SingleStore works and what kind of cloud providers it connects to. The store data types are relational, geospatial, full text search, key value, JSON, time series vectors. Uh, all of that is covered, and obviously there's a lot of applications. You can use it according to your use case. If you have a special use case, you can feel free to reach out to us at team@singlestore.com. And it also supports real-time analytics, dashboards. We have a lot of people, like a lot of customers that are actually using it for dashboards and ML. So we actually have a lot of content on that also. So yeah, you can check that out. This is again a visualization of how SingleStore can power data and AI applications today. So we support batch ingest and analytics on that in real time. So yeah, this is just a all right. We also support Spark to so yeah, today's webinar also, like you can create a little pipeline to implicate it on a dashboard. So you can ingest real-time market data. Like what the demo is about fintech chatbot that can ingest market data in real time and store it and analyze it in SingleStore at a good speed. And you can query it in plain English. And in like another version, you can also use your voice to interact with it. Actually, my machine is not exactly configured to do that, but yeah, that's also a feature that was there. So fintech is disrupting the status quo. There's a 492 billion fintech market by 2028 that's projected, and 96% of all the users are aware of at least one fintech service. So again, SingleStore for your fintech use case would be actually a lot of customers are already using it. So here's a list, and super fast query results are there. And if there's anything related to wealth management, portfolio analysis, like there's a custom chatbot that you're building on, this fits really well because I have been experimenting with SingleStore since some time. So yeah, that really helped me. And honestly, I don't really have like, I'm not as great of an expert as Akmal used to be, like who's a previous speaker. So he and like I was also able to use it effortlessly. So that's definitely a thing. And the customer support is really great. So yeah. Switching to the demo, just give me a second. I'll stop sharing my screen and I'll share another tab. Awesome. So I hope you're able to see my screen, and I will just play the demo for you guys now. We will come up with future content.
Let me just
amazing.
Switch.
Many of you might recognize that.
Yeah. Okay. So as I mentioned before, if you've logged in, you will see something like this as the home page. And if you check just under deployments there, okay, on the left-hand side, okay, let me just highlight that. There we go. You'll see that by default, you will have something that's running already for you, okay? So there will be a workspace, okay? This is your compute, and you will have a database as well, okay? So you can hit the ground running straight away. Now, this is the kind of free shared tier. So this gives you the opportunity to start experimenting with it, with SingleStore. Dip your toe in the water, try it out. Great for very small scale projects, but a nice way to just learn. And you will get credits as part of the account as well, and you are not burning through those credits as part of the free shared tier. So basically, those are available to you if you need something more. Okay, and then because of time constraints, okay, we'll leave that for today. But essentially, you can configure some additional resources just by going at the top here. Okay, just clicking on this down arrow, and where it says here, new deployment, for example, you can choose something that is configurable in terms of number of CPUs, for example, and the amount of memory, okay? But this shared tier, okay, like I said, I leave it running and it's not burning through my credits. I come back to this again and again. And for the demo today, it's perfectly fine. So it's got, let's have a look. Now, in case you're wondering, you might say, well, you know, how did he get that database name there? So if you see there, I've actually, what I did was I sort of just up here, there is an option, okay, to terminate starter workspace and drop database. Okay, so that's what I did just to remove that. And then I recreated it, but then I did so with my own database name. That's how I got that. Okay, otherwise, they just get some default names, which are fine. Okay, I mean, you don't really need to worry too much about those. The other thing is that once you've check that you've got your compute and database. The next thing to do is just literally get your notebook loaded in. And if you just go here to Data Studio, okay, here we go. And you'll see that you have this option, browse, okay? You can see I've got quite a few things and projects that I've been working on, but look on the right-hand side here, you've got this thing here that says new notebook. Okay, and if you click this, you've got two options. Literally create a new notebook or import from file. So you want the import from file option. And if you select that, here's a wizard. So either drag the notebook that I showed you, which I think Yukti should have shared the GitHub repo with you, and then just put it into this space here where it says drag file here, or use this to browse the file system. And then once you've done that, this button down here will become active, okay? And then it will just pull that in. And I've done that a little bit earlier. So you can see here that under this thing here, shared, okay, let me just make this a bit bigger here. There is that very same notebook that I showed you a little bit earlier on, Fintech Chatbot Full. Okay, and here it is, ready to run. And at the top here, you'll see that it shows me the starter workspace and the database name, okay? So just check that those two are visible. Now, in this case, you can see I can do the pull down here, so I've got nothing else running. So there's nothing else to choose here. But if you decide to configure something yourself, then make sure you select that correctly. You need that because it needs to establish a connection to the database where you're going to store the data, okay? All right, so hopefully that's fairly straightforward. So as I said, sign up, log in, okay? Just check under deployments, you've got a starter workspace and database, and then just go to Data Studio, go to browse, locate the notebook, import it. And once you've done that, and check that your workspace and database is selected at the top, you're ready to go. And the only thing you need to do then, and again, you see the disclaimer here, just word of warning, just to make sure you're fully aware of this, okay? So please don't blame SingleStore if you're going to use this fake data for any other purpose other than this webinar, okay? So there we go. So first thing we do, we just install some libraries, okay? And we got LangChain, okay? We've got LangChain Community. We have LangChain OpenAI and OpenAI as well. So that should be fairly straightforward. A couple of other imports here. So the key thing here, in order to do the natural language, which we're doing on the streaming data, we're going to use a couple of things here. This sort of SQL agent, okay, from LangChain, and this SQL database toolkit. So these are the two kind of key bits of technology, if you like. And OpenAI is what we're using today, but you could easily use this with another provider, okay? It doesn't have to be. It's just that what I found is that with OpenAI, the costs have gone down considerably. You know, there was a time when I first started using it, it cost a fair bit of money, obviously, but you know, the amount that you pay now is tiny compared to what it was some time ago. And literally, I have my own account now and get billed to my credit card. And it's not even worth my while claiming it back from SingleStore because the amount is so small. So there we go. And so one thing that I've done is I have stored my OpenAI key within this secrets vault. So again, if I just go to the browse tab here a moment, let me just show you. So along here, you see there's a couple of things here. You got recent, personal, shared, gallery, firewall, and secrets, okay? So in secrets here, this is a great way to just store the key. And I've done that already, as you can see, all right? So the value you can see is hidden, and I can edit that and I can change that as well if I want to do so. So that's very handy because especially if you're demoing things, it doesn't reveal the key. It will simply pick this up from here and utilize that. And that's what I've done here. So let me just go back here. So this is this line here in terms of SingleStore DB management, import get secret. Okay, so we'll use that in just a moment. So the first thing here, we just check to see, are we using the shared tier? If so, we do not need to create the database because it's already done for us here. Okay. If we're not, we're using the standard tier, then what it will do, it will create a database for us called Fintech Chatbot DB. Okay, so that we need somewhere to store the data. So that's all that's happening there. And then we're creating this tick table here as a means to store our data. Okay. Here we go. Right, so we've got a timestamp. We have open, high, low, closing price, the volume of trade, and we set the key as the timestamp. So very, very simple and straightforward, as you can see. Here is the key bit of sort of technology that we're using, this concept of pipelines, okay? So pipelines work with a variety of different technologies. You can create pipelines for other, sort of external sources of data. This happens to be Kafka. So you can see here, as load data Kafka, public Kafka, memcompute.com. So this is the broker that's available. So as I said before, we do try and keep that alive. And so it's got this stock ticker, which we're using. In this particular case, you see there's no additional, it's not asking for a username or password. It's public. I'll show you an example of where you might want to, how you could use it with something that's configured that requires credentials. Okay, we'll take a look at that in a moment. But essentially, we just set this up and describe what it is that we want to do. Our target is the tick table. That's where we want the data to go. And then, what is the field sort of terminator, if you like? Fields terminated by a comma. Okay, so it's comma separated values. And then just a description of what the structure looks like. So we've got the symbol, the timestamp, open, high, low, price, volume, and so on. Okay, so you do need to know something about the schema, if you like, the information, how it's structured, how it's coming in. And once you've done that, it creates the pipeline. Very straightforward. And then here we can just say adjust offset. Basically, all this is saying is, all right, go to the very beginning of the data, if you like. What is the earliest one that you can send me, and start from there? You may not necessarily want that, but in this particular case, we can take that. And then before we actually start the pipeline, we can test it and say, all right, in this case, I've decided, well, just show me one. And here you can see an example of the data that's coming in. Okay, that's what it's going to look like. So we have this symbol, MMM. Okay, and there's the timestamp. You can see, so it's done a little sort of 23rd of January, 2025. Okay, 21:40:32. And then we've got open, high, low, price, and volume. Okay, so remember, all of this is made up. Okay, this is purely fictitious. And then, so we're happy. Okay, so we know that the pipeline's been created. We know that there is some data there. We've tested it, and then we just start it, and then you might have to wait a few moments. And I had to wait, let's see, from the time I ran the previous command, actually starting the pipeline, which was at 16:12:49 my time, so a little bit earlier today, and literally at 16:13:02, there is already, what's that? 4 million rows already been loaded into the tick table. So that's pretty fast going. And even it's been throttled. If you look here carefully, you'll see that the batch interval has been set to 45,000. Which is required for the free shared tier. Right? It's just to throttle things a bit, okay? Manage the resources a bit better. If you decide to use the standard tier, you can, of course, adjust this value, and you can choose something that suits your needs. But for this environment, that is, I think, what we're able to use. So data is just streaming in now, and it will keep going until I stop it. or the data runs out, or the space is full. So the free shared tier does have limits in terms of storage. So I terminated this pipeline a little bit earlier on. This has got enough data in there. And then once it's in there, we can start doing things. So here, for example, using this SQL command just to create sort of candlestick chart, okay? And in this particular case, I'm just pulling out a couple of rows, anything to do with Apple here. So you can see that there's 2 entries here so far. Now, if I'd left this running a bit longer, probably I'd get a few more rows here. But in this particular case, it's only given me 2. And then once we've done that, here we just connect to the database system, okay? So you got this handy kind of connection underscore URL, which relies upon this thing up here. That's why it's always important to check that you are connected to the correct workspace and the database so that this is pointing to the right thing. And once we do that, we can start to do something interesting. For example, we could create some nice visualization using a bit of Python here. You can see here that I've got these candlestick charts. So you can see here the green is kind of positive, right? It's and this one's kind of in the other direction in terms of movement. All right. Now, again, there's only 2 kind of data points there, I think. Not enough, but you'd let it run a little bit longer. And then because this feed, as I said before, there are certain guarantees with the connection. You know that Kafka provides certain guarantees in terms of delivery only once, for example. SingleStore does the same. So we ensure that it arrives once and that you can stop and restart the pipeline. But here, what we're trying to do then is to add something beyond that. So our feed is active. We're streaming data into SingleStore. And in this particular case, obviously, the free shared tier has some constraints in terms of resources. But if you have, say, a larger cluster of machines, let's say, you set yourself up with multiple leaf nodes, for example, okay, master aggregators, which is the mechanism that SingleStore uses. And then what you can do, you can ingest the data in parallel. And that gives you, better throughput, faster ingest, and using the scalability of the system actually to get the data in. And therefore, there's much more that you can do in terms of processing the data much faster, if that's critical to you. In this particular case, then, all we've decided to do is to say, all right, so we know the data arriving. Why don't we try querying it using natural language, which is what's happening here. So I'm just using OpenAI, and I'm just using this GPT-4 Mini. Okay, so set temperature to 0, be as deterministic as possible, set verbose to false. And then here is the bit of magic that's going on using LangChain. Okay, so essentially we set this up. We tell it that we are looking specifically at the tick table. That's useful because if you have a database system with lots of tables, you don't want it going off and asking and interrogating those tables. Okay, we keep it specifically focused just to the tick table, which we know currently that's all that exists. But just for safety, we set up the toolkit, we point to the database, set up the LLM, and then we create this agent. And then the agent then, again, gives us this ability to have a kind of a verbose mode, which is useful. So currently it's set to false. Again, gives us the ability to understand how the natural language is converted. Okay, what are the steps it's actually using to go away and ask that query of the database system. So a couple of example queries down below here. Now, this bit of code here, a while back, when I was doing some experimentation with LangChain, I found that I was getting some errors. I think it's something to do with the parser. I'm not sure if it's been 100% fixed. The community is very active around LangChain, and they are very fast and very responsive. But this code is kept in here basically as a way to deal with this situation where I found that results were coming back, but unfortunately not being interpreted correctly. So this is all that this does. It just handles the situation and gives me the correct answers back as I would expect them, as it kind of worked in the past as well. And so then we've got some example queries. So first query, I'm just asking for each stock symbol, calculate the volatility as the difference between the highest recorded price and the lowest recorded price over time. Which stock symbol has the least volatility? So I've asked it in English. How has it been able to interpret that? Well, it's come back with the answer, and it's told me that the symbol that with the least volatility, volatility is FTR. All right, now, is that correct? I don't know. But what I did was wrote a bit of SQL just below here, just to kind of test that. So, looking at the max high minus min low from tick, group by symbol, order by volatility, ascending, limit 1. And the answer it gives me is indeed FTR. And it actually tells me the value as well, 0.55. So it gives me some confidence that, the natural language is kind of being interpreted correctly. And keep in mind that because as long as you keep that feed live and the data are continuing to stream in, you may run this now and get one answer. 5 minutes later, you might run it again. It may give you a different answer. That's simply because new data have arrived. Okay, that's absolutely fine. I mean, that's the nature of the streaming data. The next query, then we can just ask the question to say, all right, then the default here is if you put in nothing, it will just ask, how many rows are there actually, or it gives you the opportunity to type something in yourself and ask that in English if you wish, or you just hit return and take the default, which is just the how many rows are in the tick table. And at that point in time, when I ran this, which was a little bit earlier on at 4:15 my time, it was 22,367,162 rows were available at the time that it ran this. Now, I can run a simple select count star. Okay, again, I did that just moments later. Literally, let's have a look. A 0.04 of a second later, and there you can see, indeed, it gives me the exact same answer. All right, so again, bit of confidence there. Now, how could we extend this? So the speech recognition part, as I said before, if we have time, I'll show it to you, but we're kind of moving on a little bit of time. Let me show you the last 2 bits here, okay? So the bonus thing. So you might say, well, okay, you've shown me the ability to get some streaming data into the database system. And yes, I can query that. Yeah, I can do that using SQL if I want to. I can use Python if I want to, can do some visualizations if I want to do that. I could even ask in natural language, which is what you're showing me, and use LangChain to help me with that. That's fine. But what about if I want to extend this? Let's say I want to create a portfolio table. Let's say I've got some stocks that are already part of a portfolio that I hold. And how about finding some sentiment that is related to perhaps some of those stocks and shares as well? So here, what we've done is I've created a simple portfolio table. Okay. And I'm going to fill it in with some information as well. And then I've got some stock sentiment as well. So this stock sentiment has been derived from real data. And what I've done is I used WebAssembly, and I created a function, and I converted that into the right format, generating the sentiment as well. And that's available as a zip file, and you can download that and you can just upload that into the environment. So I've done all the hard work for you for that. Okay. So here's the portfolio. So as you can see, I've picked some shares here. There's kind of Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Tesla. I think that's Netflix. Again, beware that I just made these numbers up, okay? So please be aware of that. So that's my portfolio. I've got 6 companies that I've invested in, and the number of shares that I hold, as well as the purchase price and the date, okay? And I can just check the portfolio table, then say, okay, what's the value of all of this then? And give me, this is using a bit of SQL here. So the total value of that, the grand total is, what's that? Is 176, I think that's in US dollars. Okay, so 176,592 US dollars. That's what my portfolio is currently worth. And then here, in terms of stock sentiment, okay, so this is the link to the zip file that contains the all the data. I think it's around about 100 megabytes. but it's got quite a bit of data in there already, and just some instructions there in terms of loading that into this environment. So there's a couple of ways that you could do it, and there's some examples there of some fictitious usernames and passwords. Okay, so just to show you the format, and I actually followed that a little bit earlier on. And for the stock sentiment table, then we've got sentiment, okay, which consists of positive, negative, and neutral. Okay, so this is based upon headlines for these articles. So they can see an examples of Marvell's MRVL Q1 earnings and revenue surpassed estimates. Okay, so that's the headline for the article itself. There's a body associated with that. And so what this has done is the mechanism I've used using some Rust code and WebAssembly is generate these sentiments. And so in this particular case, you can see for this row, positive is 0, negative is 0. It thinks that it's one, absolutely neutral. A little bit further down, you'll see an example here where we've got a confused Goldman no longer expects S&P to drop to 2,400, but sees no market upside either. So for that one, positive is 0. Negative, you can see, is about 0.4, and then neutral is about 0.6. Okay, so this uses something called VADER, Valence Aware Dictionary and Sentiment Reasoner. So that's a very kind of clever piece of, the way the algorithm and the software work, it's the library can handle interesting situations. So things like, for example, specifying things in uppercase letters, using exclamation marks to stress things, emojis, for example, happy faces, sad faces. It can pick all of these out and determine what is the sentiment that's being conveyed. So it's actually reasonably good in terms of figuring out the overall sentiment of some text. And then here, what we're doing is just redoing this, okay, using LangChain's the agent again. But this time, notice that we've said, okay, use the tick table, use the portfolio, and the stock sentiment. These are the three tables that we want to look at now. And then here's an example query that takes it a little bit further. It says here, I'll read this to you. It says, taking all the stock symbols from the portfolio table and using the latest value for each stock symbol from the tick table, calculate the grand total value of all the shares listed in the portfolio table. So essentially what I'm trying to do is say, all right, take the latest values that you've got from this live feed that's coming in, and then use that as a basis to figure out what is the value of my portfolio now. And if I do that, it says, well, I'm rich. Okay, so there you go. So, but it seems to have gone down in value. Notice it's 44,540. So the grand total value of all the shares listed in the portfolio table. So I'm right. I started off with nothing. Okay, literally. I mean, it's just digital. Okay. But it seems to think that that's what the value is. Now, how do I verify? So a little bit of SQL code there to do the same thing, okay? And here we get the correct answer, and indeed it agrees with the value that the natural language returned. Okay, and then taking this again a step further here, saying using the symbol Apple, show me the date and the most positive sentiment in the stock sentiment table and the current best price for this symbol from the tick table. So again, it goes away and then comes back and says, okay, well, Apple was on this particular date. What was the sentiment? So it gives me the sentiment, and the current best price for that was 116.30. Again, you see a fair bit of SQL there to achieve the same result there, but we do get something very similar. So the date is correct. That is correct. This is slightly out, okay, but it could be due to rounding. Okay, so if we take a look at there, it was 0.3, and there it's 0.27. But other than that, it agrees very well with the results. Okay, so the key things to note from this is that setting up the stream is very, very simple and straightforward. Now, I did promise that I would show you something, and if we go to the left-hand side here, okay, to data ingest, and in particular to load data, right? It's this thing here, which it's got this preview next to it. If you have a look in this list, you will see that there is a notebook here, specifically for Kafka. Right? And if I click on this, it gives you something a little better in the sense that it talks through the steps in more detail, sets up a table for you, and it shows you a format and syntax to use in the event that you want to add things like credentials, for example. Okay, so your password here, for example. Okay, so that would be the way. And again, things like your Bootstrap server, for example, the port number, and so on. Right. So this is something I've used previously in another example from a few years ago. But the one that we are using specifically today, as I said, it's public, it's open, therefore we don't need to provide any of this information. We simply point to the actual broker and the topic, and that's it. Okay, we don't need to provide any other details, any other information. Okay, so that's essentially how you would do it. All right. Okay, so I think in the interest of time, because I always go over, and Yuxi knows this, so let's just go back, okay? And then say a few things. So, summary. So, setting up a Kafka feed with SingleStore, very, very easy. The concept of pipelines is extremely powerful, very simple. In today's example, you saw me just provide the name of the broker, the port number, the topic. It's public, okay? The data are being streamed in. Now, even at that small scale that I'm using in terms of the free shared tier, it seems to ingest data very quickly, and I've got a fair bit of data to work with. And again, like I said a little bit earlier on, I stopped it once I'd got to a certain point, simply because I didn't think it worthwhile to just continue loading in more and more data. That works really well. And then, of course, as the data are being loaded, or even if I stop, I can do interesting things, okay? Either through SQL or through Python, or as you saw today, in terms of LangChain. The only caveat I would put with the LangChain and the natural language is that I am not 100% confident that it would always give you the correct answer. Hence the reason for writing the SQL code as well, just to test to see what is the equivalent. If you set the verbose mode to true, you actually get to see its thinking. What is the process and how is it evaluating that natural language? What is it going to go and do? The kind of chain of thought, if you like. That's useful to see because you can get to see, what are the steps that it's going to take, what's it going to look at. And again, important to restrict what it's looking at. So use the mechanism within the framework to say, okay, only look at this table or this set of tables rather than looking at the entire database. In the past, I made the mistake of essentially ignoring that, and it would go away and look at lots of things that I didn't want it to look at, okay? If you specify a specific table name, that helps it focus. But if you just ask a general query, what is the value of Apple, for example, if I've got 10 tables in my database system, it will go and interrogate many of them. If I say, okay, go and look at Apple in the tick table, again, that restricts it. But if I specifically limit it in terms of the code, that's, I think, the best option. So that works really well. Okay, there we go. If you're interested and this looks like an interesting topic for you, and perhaps you have a case study in mind, SingleStore can work with you. My colleagues in the SE team can, as part of this Go Live acceleration program, so we can work very closely with you in terms of assessment, design and plan. Let me try and get that. There we go. Migrate and validate, post-migration support, cutover support. So all of that's possible, and we will handhold you through this process as well. So it's very useful. The customary, we are hiring. Okay, so if you're interested, singlestore.com/careers/jobs. We are a global company, and we tend to hire globally as well. That's actually how I got the job. Years ago, I applied to MemSQL, focusing entirely on North America. As it happens, the recruiter very kindly remembered me once the company started to expand globally, and I was very fortunate that they hired me within a very quick time because they already knew me and I'd applied, but at that time they were not considering outside of North America. And so this, I think, is a great quote. I always like to use it from Arthur C. Clarke. Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. So hopefully you've seen that it's fairly smooth sailing, very easy in terms of the integration that we have. There are lots of docs around the Kafka integration, but as I said before, this kind of mechanism of pipelines works with a variety of different technologies as well. So for example, if you've got some data in other sources, that can be ingested in this sort of similar format as well. And again, if you're looking for certain guarantees as well, delivery once only, again, those can be guaranteed. Okay, so that works really well and gives you confidence that the data are coming in and gives you the opportunity to do your slicing and dicing, analytics, visualizations, whatever it is that you're looking for, or looking for patterns. Or the particular example today, as you saw, we're trying to look at stocks and shares, look at a portfolio, doing some sentiment analysis as well. But again, my experience with the natural language is that I'm testing it currently locally as well. So if I run OpenAI on a local Jupyter notebook and connect to the cloud, it seems to work very similar to what we've seen today, no problems. What I'm trying to do with Olama, using a variety of LLMs that have tool support, but unfortunately the results are terrible. So maybe in time it will improve. Hopefully it will. Okay, but these things, you don't always get what you want when you want it. Okay, you just have to be patient and just let the community drive that. And so with some of these open source projects, it takes a bit of time. There are other priorities as well, but that's life. Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for your time there. And
so, all right, thank you so much for sticking around for the demo. And if there's any other questions, you can feel free. Like any other questions that are not related to the resources, I will be putting the resources in the chat. Just give me a second. There's a link to try for free, and I'll put the demo code for everyone to use in case you guys were following along, or if you just give me a second. I'll just put it. Yeah. I hope you're able to, it's actually uploading. So yeah, I hope you guys are able to see the demo code that's there in the chat. It's uploaded, and I think this is the entire notebook that Akmal has used. And we also have a free trial link that you can use to try SingleStore. Let me pull that over to you. And then you can just get started. It is the same thing that was there initially, that was present in the video. So just give me a second to. Yeah, I will be putting that in the chat. If you guys are interested, you can try SingleStore for free. They are giving away $600 worth of credit that Akmal also talked about. So I actually made my account last year, and I still have like around $300 worth of credits left. So it's pretty useful. You can try out SingleStore notebooks, and we also have a free share tier that's indefinitely free, and you can try out on your data, and you can let us know on team@singlestore.com in case there's any other questions. So I have actually put it in the chat. I see a question that they are not able to see it. Like, this is how I usually do it, and I feel like everyone else is able to see that. So I've uploaded a file that has the code to it, and there's a link to try for free as well. We will just FYI, we will be sending a follow-up email that will have the resources for everything related to this webinar. As stay tuned, we will have more content coming up and more interesting speakers. So oh, we have a comment from Peter. Oh, thank you, Peter, that we will come up with more content. Akmal has actually decided to take a break. So he was an amazing speaker, and it's like, pretty big shoes to fill for the entire team. That's what it is. But yeah, we have amazing experts that are there in my team, in the growth engineering team here at SingleStore. So Yeah, that's also going to be there. You will see more interesting content. Amazing that you got the link, Jameer. All right. So if there's no questions, if you have any other questions that are relevant, you can send it to me at on my email, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn and send them there. If there's anything that you feel like needs a bit more of an expert assistance, you can reach out at team@singlestore.com. And if you click on the free trial link, there's actually a small, like if you have an account there, you are a little bit familiar with SingleStore. There's actually a person, like there's an entire team that's actually there online to assist you, like, and they do it for free. So if there's any doubts that you have, we actually have experts that are there on the intercom, and you can always ask them whatever that's bugging you. So yeah, stay tuned for future sessions. We have amazing sessions that are going to be coming up, and we have a partner webinar with Data Loop in June. So that you'll see, actually a lot of you will actually get an email regarding that. So if you're interested, feel free to sign up for that. And thanks for attending today's webinar. Have a great rest of the day, and take care, everyone. Thanks for joining. Your time is really valuable to us. All right, bye.